Hello, hypothetical audience, and welcome to some hazy cosmic jive. I'm JJNW'S Ghost, and for today's jive, I wanted to go back to 1998 and talk about a show called Serial Experiments Lain. Now, I don't remember when I was first introduced to Lain. I'd estimate probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I was aware of its reputation as a cyberpunk anime with various different gosh, I sound like Charles Barkley, with various different interpretations as to both its themes and its overall plot. I was mostly interested in it because it had the same head writer as Digimon Tamers. Now, a far cry from Digimon Adventure, Tamers starts innocent enough, with an uncomfortable moment here or there before devolving into a full-on horror show for its final arc. I remember loving that as a kid, and I did rewatch it. I believe it was last year, the year before, with Clay, and it still holds up really well. Now, I watched Lain when I was first aware of it, and it didn't do much for me. I do remember feeling uncomfortable when I would walk near a power line and, I would hear that telltale hum. But that's one of the only things I took from the show, aside from Let's All Love Lain and the opening, which is a certified banger. But a couple weeks ago, a few friends of mine started watching Lain, and their conversations and enthusiasm for it convinced me to give it a rewatch. And, of course, I wanted to talk about my experience. So what I decided to do is take notes for every episode while I'm watching them about what sticks out to me. And then I want to make a short video just about each individual episode and my experience with it. I want to go over things like the basic plot, if there's any particular shots that really stood out to me, and what are the major themes that I'm picking up on from each individual episode and how they contribute to the larger themes of the whole narrative. So, without further ado, let's log in to Serial Experiments Lain.
Layer 9, Protocol. This is the conspiracy theory episode. It talks about the Roswell crash, the CIA making deals with extraterrestrials, people who were part of that working at MIT and helping make the internet. Lain has a vision of Jiren's cousin coming to visit her. It talks about the brainwaves of the Earth. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't that invested in those scenes. I feel like I get what the show is trying to go for. That if something becomes a rumor, but then it gets talked about enough and enough people believe it, it essentially evolves into becoming reality. This is something you see in Paranoia Agent and Inspector, which are two shows that I actually really enjoy because I really like that element. But with all the time being focused on the conspiracies, it's not bad, it's just not something I find myself that interested in. What I did find myself interested in is, first off, Lane's bear hoodie making a comeback. I love that thing. It's just precious, and I was happy to see it again. It had been missed. What's also interesting is Lane's goal in the episode. She wants to find a way to delete people's knowledge of the rumors about Alice having an affair with the with the instructor. I'm sorry. The Structor, I kind of love that. Anyways, back to the point. Lain ends up finding out that Taro, that kid that she's been interacting with throughout the show, is actually working for the Knights. He is not a full-fledged member. I guess in a sense you can maybe call him a squire or an acolyte or something. There's this one cool scene where he's in her room and she's threatening him, and then she just says, "Play track 44," and then this music starts playing, and it's really cool, and I don't know. I just really like that scene. I don't know. It wasn't super intimidating, but it kind of was still badass at the same time, and I don't know. I just really dug it. So, in addition to Lain learning that he is not a full-fledged member of the Knights, she also learns that she has always been a part of the Wired. And this new equipment that she was given can be used to override people's memories. And that the Knight's goal is to make their one truth a reality. Similar to, like if enough people believe the conspiracies, it becomes real. That's essentially what they are trying to pull off. So I think I was right about them trying to make the God of the Wired the one true God. And then they started fighting against Lain when they realized she was a threat to that truth. There's this one shot of Lain's eyes, and I couldn't tell if she was sitting there and she just looked really tired, or if she had this intense glare. But either way, it did look really cool. And the episode ends with her meeting the God of the Wired face to face, and I started laughing because he just looks like Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. So I kind of couldn't take it a bit seriously. Like I said, the conspiracy stuff didn't grab me, and it was a good chunk of the episode, but everything else in the episode was solid, even if parts of it did kind of make me chuckle a bit. But it is still a good episode. Layer 10. Love. Lain has an interesting conversation with Kefka, the God of the Wired. He claims that he can live forever as an anonymous entity as long as he has worshippers, which he has in the Knights. He tells Lain that she doesn't need a body. She should stop trying to... She should stop trying to live in reality. Lain goes to school and finds that her desk is missing. No one is paying attention to her, supporting the point that she's not needed in the real world. There's the shot of Lain where she's walking through the empty white neighborhood with nothing but her shadow beside her. It is a great shot. Again, this show is really, really good at emphasizing Lain's loneliness in reality. So when I saw her walking and, her shadow's the only one walking beside her, my brain just started playing Boulevard of Broken Dreams. I had a bit of a chuckle, but it didn't really detract from anything. When Lain returns home, she finds it empty, just like it was in episode 3. Except this time, there's no computer to greet her either. And just like in that scene, the score was fantastic. Her dad visits her briefly to let her know that he was never her father. It was his job to watch over her, integrate her into his family, but now the work is done. But all that being said, he did love her like a daughter, and he envies her. He tells her that even though her family is gone, she is not alone. Everyone will welcome her on the Wired. And it's clear beyond a reasonable doubt at this point of the show that Lain isn't human. Now, of course, you kind of get your inclinations at differing points earlier than this, but I feel like it's this scene that makes it the final straw. No, she is not human, whatever she is. At this point, Lain launches an all-out war against the Knights as an attempt to both weaken God and to take revenge on them for their attempt to kill her, ruin her reputation. She discovers a list of the members and leaks it onto the Wired. There's a great shot of her covered in cables, just showing how much the Wired has consumed her and just how literally attached to it she is. The Men in Black then start to murder the Knights members because their client has no need for gods. And then one of them says that he loves Lain, and it was kind of weird and kind of came out of nowhere, and it was really weird because this is a full-fledged adult, and I don't know how old Lain is. This is either middle school or high school, but either way, it made me a little uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. But then it is finally revealed what Lain is. Lain isn't a human, and she isn't the Wired in a human form, but rather she is a program, and her purpose is to break down the border between the two worlds, and the God of the Wired created her for that purpose. He tells her that he demands her love and worship as her creator, but Lain ultimately rejects him, and then he's seemingly disconnected from the Wired. This is another really solid episode. We get these good thematic moments about Lain's loneliness, the continuing identity crisis, and important lore reveals regarding her parents and origins. Right? I would say at this point, it is like a holy trinity between this episode 8 and episode 3 for being my favorites.